really just wanted to speak to everyone from the heart about, what this moment really means and how we can lean into it and how it can really show us, a beautiful part of ourselves that maybe we're usually too busy to get to experience. And I really love the devotional that was shared in the beginning because it speaks so much to the love and the faith that, we get into a flow sometimes and maybe we take things for granted and maybe things seem a little easy or seem so guaranteed that we're not really called to exercise that faith as much. And then something like this happens, and then you get to see how strong that muscle is. And so I wanted to share a few thoughts on that. A little bit about me is that I run an organization for women called WOE, the Women Only Experience. WOE was founded about 3 years ago, and the acronym WOE really harkens to my journey and my beliefs that the really good stuff about yourself and the really good stuff of life can be found in those low or woe moments, that we don't have to be scared when life presents a challenge, that there's usually a gift wrapped within it. And if we're brave enough to keep moving forward and stay that course, that we will be rewarded on the other side. So the task at hand, I feel like for so many of us right now, is to connect deeper to who we truly are and to not lose sight of it. And what I loved about the devotional is how it was so great in saying this, who we really are. We are love. We are trust. We are grace. We are not worry and overwhelm or sadness. Those are parts of the journey, and they are places that we will be called to visit, but not places that we have to stay. And so as we are kind of going into this period of uncertainty, while I know it's something that none of us have ever experienced like this, I know for me, I do recognize the energy. And it reminds me of periods of my life where I knew that things were about to get really uncertain and that my life may not look the same on the other side. And how did I want to show up to the evolution that I realized could happen very quickly? There was a quote at one of the very first WOE event I ever hosted. The woman who I invited to speak was Ophelia de la Valette. She founded Dance 101 at the age of 45 after taking her first dance class at the age of 35. So you're never too old to start something new. And she said, "You never know your turning point until long after it's passed." And I feel like that is the energy of now. Like we know, okay, we're going in, but there's so many question marks all around. And so when I think about having so much uncertainty around you, I think about periods in my life when I was in a marriage that was failing. And I had really realized that that was the case. When I was in a business that I loved, but it was also bleeding money and just not going the way that I wanted to. And I knew that if I continue down this path, it's not going to be good. Something has to change. And so the way that I approach these moments is a little bit different than what most people may advise. Because obviously, if you see a problem or a situation in front of you, you want to fix it. And while I do not encourage anyone to not be honest with what is happening around them, I take a different point of view in where you put your energy. And I like to break it down into 4 sections. So 4 different phases of deepening your own personal power in periods of great change. So the first step is to be very, very honest with yourself first. Be honest about what you're feeling, even if it's not how you want to feel. Like, I feel so scared, and I don't want to feel scared. I want to feel trust, but how I'm feeling right now is a bit scared or uncertain. Be honest about what you desire. You know, this is how I wish things would turn out, or this is how I wish things were in the moment. This is the information I wish I had. Be really honest with yourself about the current situation. And ask yourself, you know, what are the things that I'm even too scared to admit to myself? That might take a little bit of work, but you may find something for you to explore there. So be honest. And in periods like this, like now, journaling every morning, wake up. If you've ever read the book called The Artist's Way, she talks about morning pages. Just wake up and just brain dump whatever is coming to mind. It may just give you a good place to express, and you may be surprised at what comes out, both, you know, very optimistic and both like, you know, needing some healing. So that's number one. Number two is to take action. And this is the part where I feel like I veer from the norm. You know, a lot of us want to get into the fixing mode. If I have identified something and I don't like it, then I'm going to fix it. And I'm not leaving this conversation until we fix it. And I'm not getting up from this desk until the project is complete. And we just want to fix. But if you look at life and you look at these situations in terms of energy and vibration, if there's a situation that is bringing you down, does it serve you to put so much time and energy in it when there are other things that can call you and lift you up and bring you to a different place? And so this is not, to me, escaping at all, because we will wrap things up in a beautiful bow at a point in time. But this is about stepping away from the things that are dragging you down to get to a better place, a better frame of mind to come back and solve them. For instance, right now, you know, I'm a homeschooling mom, just like so many of you, and we're having to figure all of this out. And there are moments when my son is just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm just like, you know what? Then let's not do it. Okay. Pause the video. Let's move on, because it doesn't serve us. And it doesn't serve the vibration that I desire for my relationship with my son to sit there and just hammer against the thing that doesn't want to budge. Let's shift this, and we'll come back to it when we're both feeling so much better. And so, you know, in these moments, if we want to be at that loving, trusting place, sometimes we have to go there. We can't expect it to come here where there is so much resistance. Part 3 is intuition. If you've ever read the book God Winks, you know, when God gives you like that little nudge, that little sign, those synchronicities that you're on the right track. For me, if I am butting up against resistance, if I am frustrated and overwhelmed, it's really hard to hear the higher guidance that is trying to reach me. When I find that higher vibration, if it's taking a walk, if it's catching up with an old friend, if it is journaling, if I can find that higher vibration, that's where I find the ideas, the inspiration, the yes, you're on the right track, keep going. All of those signs come to me when I'm in that place. And so that's part of the reason we have to get there. And then part 4 is the resilience. The journey is not going to look how we planned. It's about flowing and having grace for the parts that don't look how we expect it. It's about being really kind to yourself when you don't do everything that was on the list, or you weren't able to give it your best, you know, and just continue moving forward. And this is where your tribe and the people around you benefit so much from you doing this work. Because the more compassion you can have for yourself when it's not so pretty and when it's not so perfect, the more compassion you can have for other people. And if you're in the opposite of that, if you're in judgment of yourself because this isn't perfect and I'm not this or that, or the situation is so out of my control, then it's really hard for you to hold space for others who are in a hard place. And that's the moment when they need you the most. And how can you give them compassion when you cannot even give it to yourself? And so being just really open to, letting things unfold, because as I said, even in the unfoldment, when it doesn't look quite how you liked it, your partner wasn't quite how you wanted them to be that day, or your child didn't quite do all of the lessons that you wanted them to do, or my computer software isn't working right now, and even all of the bigger things that we have going on. Like, who do you want to be in that moment versus what did you want to come out of that moment? Those are the two questions. And so, I shared a little bit about, I did this process, these 4 steps, unknowingly in my marriage. I mentioned that it was a bad situation, and it was. And when I realized that, I didn't try to attack that head on. I poured myself into motherhood. I poured myself into my career. I lifted the vibration of those things so high that the solution to that third thing just emerged. I did that very intentionally when my business was, going on this track of feeling like it was no longer supporting me, especially as a single mom. I couldn't quite get everything to work. And so I intentionally leaned into self-care practices. You would have thought as a business owner, I would have leaned into fixing my business. But I said, I've got to work on myself. I leaned into everything that raised my vibration, that connected me, and the most miraculous opportunity unfolded from there. A quick wrap up to that story. I was actually offered a job, and it was a dream opportunity. And it was funny, they kind of gave me a soft offer, and I went to my dad and he said, "You deserve double." And so I went back to them. I said, "I want double." And they said, "Okay." And it was the solution to all of my problems. And from there, I learned so much. It launched a whole new career trajectory. I then launched a new company around everything that I had learned. And the person who was my boss said, "I believe in you so much. I'm going to invest in this new company." And so that's not how I expected that to unfold. If it was up to me, I would still be working away at that first venture, but the universe had something else for me, and I just had to work on myself. I didn't have to figure out all of the pieces because I never would have put things together in that way. And so that's the message that I share for you all today. We all know the situation is out of our control. And the more, though, we can just lean into rediscovering, remembering, and really embodying who we really are at our best, everything will be fun and unfold from there.